Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. So, Sarah from Southern California was in my monthly Discord hangout, Talk Shop, and sent the following question to Schools and Help Desk afterwards. Hello, Ben. I really appreciate your offer of answering questions outside of Discord. I have the opportunity to start a business through the DAFT program. One of the prerequisites is generating 66,000 euros annually at the end of 2 years. To that end, I'd love your opinion on what the most lucrative part of an art business is these days. Okay, so I talk a lot about how if you're running a business, don't worry about not knowing everything because that's what the internet is for. So here, I had the chance to learn about DAFT, which is the Dutch-American Friendship Treaty, which allows Americans to start and run a business in the Netherlands. It's a really exciting opportunity, so congratulations on that, Sarah. Now, to the point of your question. I assume the prerequisite is to make 66,000 euros of annual revenue by the end of year 2 of your business, which is to say they're maybe not that concerned about how you do in year 1, just that you hit that milestone by the end of your 2nd year. Also, I assume this is revenue and not net income of 66,000 euros, like after taking out expenses and tax and whatever else. So what's the fastest, most reliable way of doing that? Well, like with everything else, the answer is, it depends. The most effective way really depends on the individual. Like, what is your niche within the art industry? Are you a fine artist, a graphic designer, a comic creator, or something else? What kind of business do you currently have? What's your fan base like? How big and diverse is it? The answers to these questions and others will inform and dictate what I think of as the DNA to your specific art business, which is how much you invest in and grow each individual revenue stream. In simplest terms, your business is basically a collection of systems by which you trade some amount of your time and perhaps some money cost for even more money and/or goodwill. So, if you have a 2-year timeline, that means you need to generate revenue efficiently, which is basically maximizing the money you make while minimizing the time you spend making it. I talk about this general concept in my Schools and Class, The Business of Art, and I have another video on this channel about intellectual property that kind of tangentially talks about this. Anyway, to make your target revenue against a time constraint, you need to build out revenue streams that can make you money without you physically having to work for it, i.e. it costs you 0 time. The best one of these is, of course, intellectual property. You make your IP once and basically sell it forever. You can make money off your IP by licensing it to someone else to make something out of it, from posters and t-shirts all the way to full-on TV shows. Basically, you rent out your intellectual property and just collect checks. Or, more commonly, you make your own products out of your IP and sell them through your own channels, like an online store. Neither of these things require you to put in an hour of your time to make an hour of pay. If you have a website, customers can pay you while you take meetings, have lunch, drive from one place to another, or sleep. All you have to do is design your products, have them made, and then take 1 day out of the week to fulfill all your orders. And since you're in the DAFT program, you can actually get all this ready, your inventory, your site, etc., before you actually move your business to the Netherlands and begin the 2-year countdown. Even better than physical products is if you could sell digital products. I've seen people make money from selling, digital versions of their artwork, emoji packs, their brushes, and basically anything else that might have a market. But the thing is, in this day and age, it might be very difficult to sell digital assets, even if it was something like a phone or desktop wallpaper for, say, €1 or 2. So here's where something like Patreon comes in. Patreon and other platforms like Patreon allow your fans to essentially subscribe to you, which I'm a big fan of because, making money without working for it, right? So instead of selling your digital IP products to fans individually, you can offer them as incentives for supporting your Patreon. It's all the same thing in principle. And again, this is something you can prepare before moving to the Netherlands. And of course, there's also social media ad revenue, which I don't know if you'd be able to build up in just 2 years, but if you could, that would be amazing. So in terms of revenue generated per hour of work performed, I think these are some very efficient ways of making money with your art business. The next type of revenue stream requires that you spend more time, but hopefully you can get outsized returns on your investment. For us, this was the convention circuit. In the beginning of our studio, we tried to table at every decent-sized show that was within driving distance of where we lived. Of course, how well you do at a convention depends on what kind of art you do and what kind of convention you sell at. For us, Bobby and Kay did pretty well at pop culture conventions like Fan Expo in Toronto, various Wizard World shows, and of course, San Diego Comic-Con, which wasn't near us but was definitely worth going to. We didn't do that well at anime conventions for reasons that to this day I still don't really understand, but the numbers are the numbers. Now, I talk about this in my Business of Art class too. There's the question of what you sell at conventions, namely, should you sell fan art or not? The principle of selling fan art is a matter of your own self-actualization, but that's not what we're talking about here right now. We're talking about money, and there's no denying that fan art typically sells better than original art, because fan art has a built-in audience, right? So naturally, it's an easier sell. Convention sales are an unusual animal in your art business though, because your customers will often pay cash and not ask for a receipt. At the end of the show, you will hopefully have a pocket full of cash and no paperwork. So how do you report that so that it counts towards your 66,000 euro target? Well, you simply write down in your accounting, convention cash sales X euros. That's about all the bookkeeping you need. The government is only concerned with businesses taking cash and not reporting it. They're more than happy to take your word for it if you say you made cash and are voluntarily disclosing that. Tabling at conventions can be an efficient way to generate revenue per hour spent, since they're usually just on the weekend, but can result in thousands of euros in sales. I mean, that weekend will probably be quite tiring with all the talking and standing that you'll have to do, but in terms of time spent, it's still just one weekend. Plus, prep for the show, such as preparing products, figuring out logistics, etc., a lot of that can take place after your regular working hours, which still frees up your normal workday for other less efficient revenue streams. Okay, now when I say these are less efficient, I don't mean they're inefficient, just that they're not as min-maxed as the other streams I've talked about. For these streams of revenue, you're essentially spending time for a proportionate amount of pay, like a regular job, but not a regular job, because your business needs to make money, not you personally. So this doesn't include clocking in somewhere and earning a paycheck. For an art business, this is basically work for hire. Whether you're being contracted to work on a movie or game or being commissioned to do an illustration of someone's cat. This can be good work, especially if while you're doing it, you're getting Patreon money, social media money, and website sales in the background. The downside to work for hire work, if you're in the entertainment industry, is that it can be inconsistent. A lot of times your work for hire contract might get renewed, but a lot of times it might not, which means you often don't know how long you'll be on a project for, even if you do have paperwork. If you do task-oriented work like a graphic designer, you might have an easier time piecing together enough jobs and clients to keep you busy consistently, which would be ideal. There's one other option that people often don't talk about, but seeing that, again, your goal is a money target and not self-actualization, you might consider including it within the scope of your art business. And that option is teaching, especially teaching kids. And this is probably an unusual situation, being an English speaker in the Netherlands teaching art. But it might work out for you since your students could learn art and English from you simultaneously, which a lot of parents might like. I don't know, it's just a thought. Anyway, I hope that helps. If you have any questions about starting or running an art business, please email Schoolism Help Desk at info@schoolism.com or leave it in a comment below and I'll try and do a future video about it. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.